started, I wanted to quickly say it's so fun to see so many of you here today. I even see one of my former teachers from Fleischer. Hi, Christine. It's so nice to see you here on the call.
Hey, Abby.
Hi. Small world, small Zoom.
Yes, nice to see you.
Yeah, so great, especially on a topic on education, to have so many educators and artists here with us. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Abby King. I'm the Assistant Director of Adult Programs here at PAFA. And I wanted to, of course, start off today by a big thank you to all of our PAFA members for coming out and supporting us today and every day. Thank you for helping keeping us vital. And if you aren't a member already, please consider joining if you haven't already. I know many of you have been to some of these programs before and know what's about to happen. I do just a quick Zoom tutorial. So many of us have been on Zoom now for 8 weeks. It's hard to think that that's how long it's been. But just in case it's any of your first times here with us today, I want to just do some quick overview. So the main thing I want to mention is that you can experience this program in 2 ways visually. So Zoom has two options. If I'm the big giant head at the bottom of your screen, you're in speaker mode. That's what I'd recommend you keep the program in today, just because Monica and Al and Michael are going to take turns sharing some of their stories and their expertise, and that way you'll be able to see them full and big and center. But if you'd like to see all 32 people who are on the call today, if you go to the upper right-hand corner where it says Gallery View, if you click on that, you'll be able to see everyone here. So we do want to open it up to discussion. We want to hear from you, and this is the mode I'd recommend once we switch to that, just so you can see different people and hear from them as well. The nice thing about Zoom is that your screen can look however you want and it doesn't impact anyone else. So really go with what feels the best for you. You might have noticed I went ahead and muted everybody. So I kind of think of this like I used to ask people to mute or silence your cell phones. I'm going to ask you to silence your Zoom screen. So when people are sharing, I'm just going to ask that everybody stays on mute unless you're the one actively speaking. So again, we really do want to hear from everybody. So the way we're going to do that is you can drop things into the chat here. So feel free while the presentation is happening, while they're sharing, to drop links, to drop thoughts, questions in there. And then I also want to open it up that we do want to hear from you verbally too. And so we're going to ask you to virtually raise your hand. The way you do that is at the bottom of your screen, if you're on a computer, where it says participants. You click on that on the right-hand side of your screen, it'll pop up. You'll see, it's pretty small, I wish it was bigger, but it says raise hand. And so thank you, I can see Erin's hand right there. Perfect. And Erin, let me know if that was a real question or if you're just being super helpful, and I appreciate that. So we're gonna call on you from there. So if I see your hand, I will then say, hey Erin, I'm gonna unmute you and we'll hear from you then. But I would ask that maybe we leave some of those towards the end of the program. Other things, so right next to that mute button at the bottom of your screen, a few over from the participant button, there's a video button. So it says stop video. I mention that because if you can't see yourself and you'd like to, you can click on that button again and we'll be able to see you visually here. We're also recording today's program. So if you'd like to not be on camera, one way is just to have your camera silenced. I will say, unless you're actively speaking or asking a question, you probably won't be on the video. So, but just in case, that is an option that you have today as well. I think other than that, I'm always worried I'm going to miss something. But otherwise, if I haven't, I'll probably think of it. But it's now my pleasure to hand you over to Professor Michael Gallagher, Professor and Painting Chair Al Gury, and Vice President of Education and Engagement, Monica Zimmerman. Welcome to them and welcome to all of you. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everybody. While Abby gets a chance to, I guess, unmute Al and Michael so that we can all have conversation. Oh, now you're going to hear me. I thought it was prudent to point out at the top of this conversation that what you are really here for is the first conversation that the 3 of us have had about what this has felt like. We too have been socially distanced from each other since March 13th. We were at work one day and then we weren't. And we've gotten our work done and figured it out and moved forward, but now we're having the first sort of moment of reflection, I think, as a team. So we're catching up with each other. This is not necessarily super prepared. This is how you should do it. This is us debriefing together. And to that end, I know many of you on this call are educators. Many of you are working artists. So we also want to learn from you. Your experiences also as students are extremely valuable to this conversation. So I thought that the first question that I would ask of my two colleagues here is to actually just take us all back and sort of start from a shared reflective moment on what this felt like. About 8 weeks ago, you found out that you weren't going to be coming to PAFA anymore to teach your studio classes. And how did that feel? I know you also have two different perspectives, because for one of you, I think this was new. And for the other of you, this is a new moment of something you have done before. So I don't know, Al, will you start? Tell us what you felt.
Well, as Monica said, it was very sudden. I do want to point out, though, that PAFA has been amazing in preparing us and ushering us through this. And I'm not saying this just to be nice about PAFA, I have never been more proud of PAFA than I have been during this thing, because not only did the senior staff and my fellow chairs prepare everybody as best as they could, but through this, they've kept up daily with watching over everything and communicating and thinking, planning. It's been an amazing experience from that point of view. And in many ways, I've had more contact with the senior staff and my fellow chairs than I had previously. It's really strange. So, but I terribly miss the school daily round of seeing people popping in to have coffee with some of the staff in the morning before classes and talking about cats and students. And, you know, I miss all that terribly. But on the other hand, we've really been staying in touch, and that's been the key, is really staying in touch constantly. So I have no qualms about texting some staff member or calling them, you know, and likewise. And it's kind of amazing. And I've even found some nice things about people that I didn't know. So it's been upsetting and frightening, obviously. I'm very worried about the people I love and care about. Thank God I only knew one person who actually had it, who was extremely elderly, almost 100, and, you know, but everyone else, knock on wood, is safe. So yeah, it was a jolt. The hard part was then, putting aside how I felt and attending to the students. That was the most important thing. That was really all I had to care about. And, you know, as adults, we know from taking care of other people our whole lives, and many of us, you do now, I had to put anything I felt aside and just focus on the students. And, you know, who's depressed, who's having motivation issues, who's doing fine, they just need to talk. Did they need to talk on Zoom? Did they need to send me emails? And then keeping all that in touch with the school staff and our school counselor, Julie Fomenko, who's amazing. And so I always spend a lot of time doing that kind of counseling connection thing, but even more so now. It's become much more vital and important. And so, you know, I literally could not think about myself till the evening or the weekend. And then I would vent to my closest friends and family. But yeah, it's kind of been that. It's been extremely strenuous, but yet, because I've had a lot of experience with online teaching and online lecturing and things like that, it was not a huge leap for me. Just something different.
Yeah, and I think I've heard what you just said from a lot of people that sort of put another way, I think this moment has put into relief how much of being an educator is about emotionally supporting your students.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, we think it's like 98% content and 2% social. It's definitely not. And I think this moment has made it incredibly apparent how much of the work of being a great faculty member, a great educator, a great community supporter for informal educational opportunities is about meeting people's emotional needs.
Absolutely.
And yeah, Michael, what about you? What's this been like for you? Initial thoughts?
Well, this, you know, when we first, the timing was very strange. We had our spring break, and then we were, I think most of us, under the impression that we'd be maybe taking an additional week off. And then it became clear that that wasn't the case. And being someone who's never been all that savvy with online teaching, particularly in our realm, you know, because we're very object-oriented people. We want to see the work of art, and we want to see the work of art in real time so we can see the object and be able to fully appreciate it. So I've always been on the fence about the online thing. I mean, you're listening to someone who still doesn't have a cell phone and who's still using a DSL line. So first of all, if I fall out in terms of communication, it's because of this like antiquated technology I'm using. So please bear with me. So yes, this was a challenge for me. And I know I'm not the only one out there who felt that this was going to be a very daunting task, to say the least. I'm happy to say that most of the problems have been worked out. I agree with Al that the school made it very, very, very easy for us to access this platform. And I'm happy to say I'm seeing really good work from the students, and I'm seeing some very interesting work that in a way probably wouldn't have happened if this pandemic hadn't happened. And I'm not trying to be Pollyanna about it. I'm seeing the students being very resourceful and changing their mediums and changing their content. So I'm not sure if my voice is coming through. I hope it is. But it's been quite an experience.
Yeah, your voice is definitely coming through. No worries, Michael.
Okay.
You guys want to talk a little bit more about what you're seeing students actually producing in this online environment? I think that's a lot of what we're all concerned about, is how do you physically make studio art from a digital conversation? What are you seeing that is this sort of innovative change that you're talking about, Michael or Al?
Well, Michael brought up two really good points. One is the issues of seeing the work online, not physically, so that you can't see up close textures, surfaces, things like that really well. And then the other thing is what have students actually evolved into because of this, taking this challenge? And what I've seen is, first of all, the first area, being able to look at work. I think when a lot of people started with online stuff, a few years back, the quality of photography wasn't as good and that sort of thing. My students have actually been photographing things with their iPhones, and I can actually see pretty closely, like a good museum reproduction in a book, a close-up of brushwork. And so that's been extremely helpful. It varies depending on the quality of the device they have. And so if they don't have something good, it's going to be less good. If they have something really good, I can actually see up close by zooming in and having snippets cut out to look at. The other thing is that because we didn't have our usual structures, and even some of the students don't have their materials because they had to fly back to Utah and they don't have oil paints there. Mm-hmm. We've been guiding them into using alternative materials and also alternative projects. For example, in my freshman life painting class, which was about a nude model and learning things about structure, form, color, etc. with a model. Now we're doing all kinds of things. We're painting interiors, we're painting still lifes, we're doing representational work. I'm having them do some abstract work. They have really stepped up. This a group of second-year students that I have blossomed into things they would not have done without this like forceful prompt to do this. And then the Zoom meetings we have in class, we talk about how does that feel and what are you afraid, you know, what are your fears about doing this? And this thing you wanted to do, which was from a memory or a dream you had, now's the time to try it. Let's just try it. So between them being willing to step up and me having to change it all up, and in many cases do things I wanted to do anyway, it's been pretty amazing. And there are students who are afraid, you know, they're not sure, but what we do with that is kind of bring them along and do a lot of encouragement. And I talk about my own fears a lot with them. I'm not afraid, nothing inappropriate, but I say, yeah, I'm scared all the time. When I stand in front of that big white panel back there, I'm terrified that I might screw up and what's going to happen. And am I in the mood to even face all this?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that we talk about that stuff. I am so proud of them.
It's interesting because what you're talking about is sort of, it's celebrating or at least acknowledging a concept in education that is, it's been proven, you know, that the greatest predictor of success later in life is not necessarily actually achievement, it's grit. It's grit. Perseverance in the face of challenges. And I think it's, you know, again, to steal a phrase from Michael, not to be Pollyanna about this, we are in a crisis. This is not ideal. But there's something to be said for what you make of it and how you evolve in the face of, and how you persevere. Grit.
Yeah.
A little bit
Absolutely.
Grit and creativity. What about you, Michael? What are you seeing?
I've been using that word a lot, and I've been using it about myself, wondering whether or not I have enough grit during this time, which allowed me to, and I've already been very sympathetic to what the students are going through. I mean, I you know, this isn't a shameless plug. I had an exhibition that was only open for 2 weeks, and I know what the 2 months leading up to that were like. I was there every day working really hard. So, you know, for all of our students who are finishing up, not just our first year students, but, you know, undergrad and grads who were getting ready to show, and ironically, you know, Al and I would be judging the traveling scholarships today. This is the other reality check. It's a Friday. We've been doing this over 20 years, right, Al? This is a momentous day for us, at least it used to be. So first of all, I was checking my own grit level, which, you know, reminded me to be as empathetic as possible, which I was already there because as I said, not being able to finish a body of work and show it is really disappointing. So I'm seeing that most of the students are full of grit, for lack of a better term. Yeah. And I'm really happy to see that. It gives me great hope that the students are finding ways to move forward. I have a student, here's another reality check. I have a first-year undergrad student who decided that video was what they wanted to do while they were, you know, in lockdown. And this student is not doing, you know, Minecraft videos or you know, animals doing tricks videos. This student is doing a video that channels Vito or Conchi. And I'm thinking, that's pretty heady stuff for a first-year undergraduate student. So it reminded me what happens at art schools and what can happen at an art school. In other words, the bar becomes very high and we expect a lot from our students. And 9 times out of 10, they really deliver. So I'm finding really interesting solutions that they're coming up with. In fact, I appreciate this. We have a dear student by the name of Rebecca. And I was asking her yesterday, I was asking all the students, hey, what do we talk about tomorrow? You know, how are you guys coping? And they said, Well, this student said, it's great because I can do what I want, because the teachers have given us free rein, you know, with regard to the and then the student said, and I don't have to look at naked bodies anymore. So I had to chuckle at that, and you know, it was indicative of what most of the students are finding, is that, you know, part of the expression, you know, that they've been given lemons, and some of them are really doing well.
Yeah, they absolutely are. The student Michael's speaking about is one of our very beloved and very special students. This is a young woman who is brilliant, both in terms of her artistic abilities and her mind. And there are certain challenges, special needs, which I will not go into, but this person is overcoming them amazingly. And actually, this whole thing has been a moment for her to explore and do some artwork that is very personal, that we wouldn't have done as part of our normal curriculum in the classroom. She's been sharing a lot with me and the background of it, and it's just been amazing. And a lot of them are doing that kind of thing because PAFA students tend to be multifaceted. They're very complex people. They have a lot of interests and abilities. And one thing that's important for us as educators is to give them permission and bring that out. You know, we have a rigorous curriculum for a good reason, and it ends up doing that for them, definitely. But during this time, we needed leeway to do more of that. Mm-hmm. And it's really working. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's a nice transition for me, because I think one of the thwe that I'm particularly cognizant of running programs, not just teaching studio art online, some of that though also, is that we did this because of a crisis, largely in this particular moment, because it was the best way to keep our community safe. But we also did something that has created new flexibility, new accessibility, physical accessibility to coursework for someone who otherwise couldn't or shouldn't have left their home, or might not have been comfortable doing as personal of work inside a formal academic studio art curriculum in a shared space. And so I'm sort of in the position of both hoping that we can all be in shared physical spaces again as soon as possible, because I think that creates great art and great community, but also desperately hoping that we don't forget what was important and good about this and the spaces that it did open up. Flexibility in the curriculum turns out not to ruin the curriculum, right? Trying to teach studio art online has created some amazing art, and some folks feel safer, feel healthier. Is there a way that we can take from this and continue to keep some of those lessons learned so that they stay learned, if that makes sense? Are you finding that there are things that you're doing now that you're seeing students make now that you might go, hey, I want to keep doing this even on the other side when we get back in the classroom? I think X thing was particularly interesting and effective.
Absolutely. I spend a lot of time designing curriculum, and for not just for myself, but in the painting department. And there's a lot of things that have come up, like, for example, teachers doing sequential demos, whether they're photographed or videotaped, and then posting those for students to see later and reflect on. Normally we do that in a classroom, they watch it, it's done. But this way we'll have a record of it and they can go back and keep. So those are things, definitely. Mm-hmm. And also, for example, in life painting classes, we say life painting, but what is life painting? Well, it's a broader range than just a naked person on a box, as Michael commented, you know. I've always been, I love that, of course, but I have nudes behind me here, but there's more to it than that. And so bringing those things into curriculum, has become very important. And I think the students are going to be very much more aware of their grit, as you brought up. And also, are they, now that they know from all of us that making art is a much bigger thing, you know, than they thought, I think that's going to change them forever. And we have to keep bringing that up in our curriculum and bringing that to students as they come into the school, you know, these ongoing generations that, you know, our rigorous skill-based training in the first 2 years leading to creativity in the next 2 years, it's even bigger than that. And we've got some cool things. And then also the online things, you know, for the museum, for the school, public gatherings like this one. I think there's going to be a lot more fun to be had.
Interesting. Anything for you, Michael?
Well, I once again, I'm hoping to get back to some sense of a normal community-based educational system, particularly for undergrads within the first and second year, because I dearly miss that, and I really think that, you know, and it's an important part of a curriculum. But once again, I'm seeing some positives, particularly with the upper level students and the graduates, particularly, and this is for the other educators out there, and I know there are a lot in the room at this point. I have found that my critiques, in many ways, are much better. Like I said, I'm an object-oriented fella, so I like to be in the room with the object I'm thinking about and looking at. And yet, you know, when the students are sending me images, you know, I have a lot of time to sit and contemplate them. And in the beginning, when I was struggling with the technology and I couldn't really zoom very well, I was taking time to write comments via, you know, a Word document. And sometimes those Word documents would get 2 or 3 pages long. And I was thinking, well, I never would have been able to say all that in a real-time experience. So moving forward, you know, in a practical manner, I'm thinking of including that as a way for me to talk about someone's work. And, you know, this isn't earth-shattering because I know low-res programs have been doing this for a while now. But, you know, I wasn't paying much attention to that world because I didn't really need to. But now I am, and I'm thinking more and more about how I can bring this new paradigm into a positive way to educate and to communicate with students. But I'm still holding out, particularly at the undergraduate level, for those, the foundational level, I should say, getting back to be able to be like real-time, hands-on. This is how you do something in real time.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right, Michael. I mean, it's, you know, God willing, we'll get through this safely in a timely manner, and we'll all be back in the fall, and that's what we're all hoping and praying for. And being in the classroom with the students and just the nuances and the little comments, all of you who are teachers, whether it's K through 12 or college, you know, it's that interaction, that personal interaction, that nuance. And that's the hallmark of the academy education. It's very hands-on, and, you know, art school in general. But what Michael commented on, the critiquing, I found to be extremely exciting in a way, because, I mean, I have a parallel career as a writer and on art and art history, and the having to write critiques online, not say things in the Zoom meetings, which we do, but having to write responses has really honed my skill to get right to the point and say something specific instead of just a few words and then I'll come back in a few minutes and say something else. So it's really helped in many ways in that area of what I do, and it's for Michael too. And both Michael and I are very, very engaged in the classroom. I mean, we talk a lot. We're very present, and we tell stories. So this has really helped in some ways within its limitations.
That's really interesting. So here's what I was thinking. I have 2 more questions for the 2 of you that I think are really, that translate into the experience of everyone else on this program. And then I want to hear from our audience about what you've learned, what your questions are, what we might be able to help you problem solve. So I'm going to give you guys both the two questions in an order. So the first thing I think that everybody on this program today probably shares is, if you're an educator, you know that it has always been a struggle to keep a good work-life balance, right? The teaching comes home with you, especially if you also have a second practice. So if you're also a maker and you have to find time for that, you're also an author, you have to find time for that. And then you have to raise kids and have hobbies and do your community work. And so I'm interested in knowing, now that everything is collapsed into your homes, every single piece of all of this work, how have you guys managed to figure out some kind of work-life balance? And I'm actually going to share my screen with you guys while I lay out the second question, because both of them are makers and they've still been making work. And I want you to hear that. I want you to be able to see the type of work that they both make while they talk about how they're figuring out how to make this work while also teaching online. So bear with me for 1 second, because I'm going to throw this up for you. The second question that I wanted to ask you, can you see that? Everybody? So, you know, they both said that they're real active in the classroom. Well, here you go. These are your action shots of our colleagues. And these are some of Michael's work. The second question I wanted to lob to you guys is, it doesn't sound like this situation is going to be as short as I think we had all hoped it was going to be when we went home in March, right? It does sound like there are some difficult choices that lie ahead, not just for the summer, but for the next academic year. And who knows how long after that. So one of the things I'm wondering is, as you just finished classes, you're sending your students out into summer break. What are you telling students? What advice are you giving them? Are you all getting excited about having some time to paint? Are you able to guide them into some sort of thought process about how to manage this as a long-term part of what it might mean to be an artist for the next maybe 6, 12, 18 months? So first question, work-life balance. And the second question is, what are we telling our students going into next year? Michael, can I tee you up first, because I have your work on the screen?
Yes. Wow. Well, one thing that I'm doing, I think Al's doing the same thing, is even though officially the semester ended like yesterday, I still have a couple weeks. Everyone that I'm working with is on board that we're going to keep talking and communicating, partly because I'm behind. In an ironic way, the workload went up more than I anticipated. I mean, I should have seen that coming, but so we're going to keep talking. In fact, you know, it's a given. It's a given that we're going to keep talking all summer. You know, for some of the students, they had a revelation that this is what life was going to be like when they left school, and I thought that's pretty brilliant. You know, you'll be on your own, and you'll be a practicing artist, and you'll have to find a way to structure your time, you know, and your life. So ironically, a lot of folks are getting like a wake-up call that, oh, this is what it's going to be like when I'm not in school. So, you know, that cuts both ways. The other thing that I think is important to say is that, particularly at the grad level, a lot of the students, you know, because they were getting ready to have their capstone experience, both undergrad and grad, there was some anxiety that they weren't doing enough work. And I think what came out of that conversation is that, yeah, art is important and we're all seriously dedicated to it, but it's just one part of life. And if you go through a period where you don't make anything, you know, I just finished a book on Neil Young where he didn't write a song for a year and a half. So I'm thinking, you know, it's okay to go through fallow periods. In fact, it's normal to do that. So if your fallow period has been 6 weeks, it ain't that big of a deal. So hopefully when the summer kicks in and we're still communicating with one another, we can share what we have. And I wouldn't have done that in the past. You know, I'd be off in Europe and I'd be in my own little private Idaho. And but now I'm looking forward to having the students keep in touch this summer. You know, we'll exchange images about where we are, and that if we're not making work, that's okay too. If we're tending gardens and going for walks finally, that's just as good. If that's what you need to do, that's what you do. So, yeah. And in terms of, what was the second question? Is it like,
Well, you
next
answered
year?
them in
Yeah,
reverse order. The first question was, how are you keeping a work-life balance for yourself?
Okay. Well,
You
this is
said a
how I'm
munchkin
doing
at
it.
home.
Because I don't have that. I have a small studio at home and I have a munchkin, yes. And that's been a challenge. But I have a whole series of works that I don't show much anymore, and I'm working on them. I'm going back to these small still lifes that are very different from these large abstractions, and I'm re-entering them, rethinking them, so that I get a little work done every day. And if there's a day where I don't feel like working, I read a book. I don't beat myself up. So, yeah,
Oh,
I think that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Look at this beautiful Al Gury painting. Al, what are your thoughts on those last two sort of teed up questions?
Oh, wow. Well, Michael was spot on with everything. I mean, I agree with
Yeah.
absolutely everything you said. And, you know, it's, we've spent a lot of time, I'll answer in reverse order also. The school, the administration is preparing all kinds of scenarios which are being communicated to the students, and so that's one thing. Institutionally, we're trying to prepare them, help them for the fall. As far as well, this is what it's like when you get out experience. It is, and we've been having a lot of talks about that. I think a lot of students are realizing that self-motivation is more important than they ever imagined it was. And when we get out of school, we really have to create some kind of space where we're reminded of who we are, even if it's an easel stuck in a corner with an unfinished painting on it, that we have to see every day and to remind you of who you are, and make choices about what you're going to do. And it's not always rational. I mean, I go for long periods where I don't work, but I'll talk about that. So we're trying to help them. We're talking about that an awful lot, trying to make that real and present. And they're like, oh, okay, you know, the school's working things out. It's going to be okay. These teachers have the same experiences we're having. That's great. I feel better. So we're spending an awful lot of time. Like Michael, I've extended my classes for another week. Many of us did, because there was just too much to do. The workload is a lot heavier. You know, it is 5 days a week, you know, normally, but now it's more so. And then through the summer, I really want to stay in touch with them in a way that I haven't before, because there was no need to in that way. So I really want to. And I think they're good with that. They're going to need that support. They really are. As far as the work-life balance, like Michael said, I mean, I go through periods where I won't paint for a few months because of school, endless meetings, other projects deadlines I have to meet for, you know, things like writing and stuff like that. So what I do is normally is work in the painting when I do have the time, and I'll come up to the studio and I'll fuss around till I get my head in the right space to actually pick up a brush. It takes a while sometimes, and then I'll work even if it's only for an hour. Since I've been home with this, it hasn't been a lot different, because school takes most days from 9 till 4, 8 till 4, 8 till 5. Meetings go till 5:30 or 6 sometimes. And then I come up in the studio. What I've been doing, though, is like Michael's doing, is I'm revisiting things I've wanted to do. I made myself a program of doing some of the exercises the students were doing. And I would show them on Zoom and say, I asked you to do a memory or an invented image. Well, I did a little one, and I know it's crap, but I wanted to show you. And so I've been doing those things, and then also starting to do some works that are not for a show. They're not for anybody. They're just things that I want to do because I've been wanting to do them. And so I've been kind of balancing it that way.
Mhm.
And, but I've been sharing a lot of that studio life and other stuff with the students. And I spend a lot of my Zoom meeting time with them talking more about how their lives are going and where they're going than just talking about their work. And then we look at a lot of other artists' work and so things like that. So it's, for me, it's been a kind of a strange, interesting flow that's been kind of connected. So I'm doing a lot of really bad paintings right now.
And I'm gonna stop
Yeah,
sharing.
I want
here.
to jump in there. One last thing, Monica, I forgot.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm doing bad things also. That's okay. We're practicing what we preach, right? Make as much bad work as you possibly can, right? Because some of it's going to be good. The other trick that I'm using, and this is for all the artists out there with a backlog of unfinished work, and I realized I mentioned this to the grad students, and I thought, well, they don't probably have this like cachet of like, you know, decades long work to revisit, but this is what I'm doing, and this might be helpful. I'm taking that unfinished work and I'm allowing 5 moves on it. I can do 5 things to it, but that's it. And I found, first of all, that there's no stress, no strain, and that actually it improves, I would say, at least half of the painting. So if folks want a fun and easy recipe, old work that you know is not quite up to snuff, and allow yourself 5 moves. And with that, I'll be quiet.
No, I love that
Michael.
idea. I also would love it if anybody on this call has a question for us or an experience of your own that you want to share about how you've been adapting. Toss it into the chat. Al, there is a question in the chat already that I'm going to cover and lob your way. And while you're thinking about your answer, I'm going to add in some other stuff. So somebody was asking about the high school after school program and how you do something like that, working with high school students in an outreach arts program in a moment like this. Is it going to continue? How do you do it? That sort of thing. And while he's thinking about if he even has an answer to that question yet, I will point out that we moved our high school, pre-college, and Saturday classes for middle school students online in April and May, and they've gone great. And they've actually sold out, and we've learned a lot. So for anybody who's interested, we are about to announce, you're the first to hear about it, and launch an almost entirely virtual summer series of programs, a summer camp that's online, summer pre-college initiatives that are online. So it can be done. And it's definitely easier to do when you knew it was coming and could make a plan for it, as opposed to having it happen in the middle of your semester.
Right.
So yeah, Al, other thoughts on sort of the high school teaching experience?
Yeah. Well, I see Susanna Fishman is here.
Mm-hmm.
She's the, I want to get your title correctly, the Director of Pre-College and After School Programs, High School Programming.
Manager of Pre-College and Teacher Programs, but I work with high school students. That's the part that's important.
And talking about this right now, some of you, if you may know, its after school program is 25 years old, and it's open to every high school student in the perimeter of Philadelphia. And every semester I have something like 250 to 300 high school students on site at PAFA from October 1st to May 1st. Well, the chances of that happening in September are not great. I have some very clear ideas because with the fact that our high school programming online goes very well, I'm going to propose that we do that, however limited in numbers it might be, in the regular schedule, and students recommended by teachers or parents or counselors can do that programming online, and we will be there with them in a new way. It'll be different, and then hopefully we'll have them all back on site, hopefully as soon as we can. But I think that it's extremely doable, this amazing program which has serviced thousands of high school students who are now adults. There is a way to do this and do it well, even in this climate. And I think because of what we've learned, what Monica's doing with online courses, you know, for high school students, I think we can do this. So I'm putting together a whole strategic plan for that right now, which Suzanne and I are going to talk about.
Yep, we have a meeting on Wednesday.
Yes, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk with my dean today about it. And I think it would be really good. And it will still engage the grad students and undergrads as interns. And it's going to work somehow, some way.
And Al, are you doing any teaching between now and then? If somebody was excited about your online teaching prowess and wanted to take a class from you, is that a thing they could do?
I'm blushing. Yes, actually, a number of courses. The undergrad summer session, which starts at around the 1st of June, I'm doing a 2-week intensive course online in life painting, but it's been tailored to be the broad inclusiveness of life. And then the continuing ed program has me signed up to do a color class, a portrait class, and a drawing class online. And then Susanna has just kindly asked me to do a high school drawing, life drawing portrait class online for high school students. So yeah, I've got some great stuff, and they're all going to involve demonstrations on Zoom and photographically, Zoom meetings, critiques, assignments, diversity of media, because not everybody has things we normally might have. So acrylic paints instead of oil, and yeah, all of the above.
Well, that's great. I'm gonna collapse a couple of questions in the chat into one big question for everybody. People have followed up with a lot of questions about what platforms are we using to do this teaching, particularly below the undergraduate level. So how are we teaching high school students and elementary school students? And our beloved old colleague, Katie Sampson, was also asking if there's any other sort of versions of it, or do you always have to Zoom? Are we thinking about folks who can't regularly appear at a class, but might want to take a class? So, which also gets us into a conversation, I think, about asynchronous versus synchronous online learning experiences. So I will say, for us so far, we have been doing a sort of collaborative learning experience. We do have the advantage of having Canvas as our learning management system. So if you want to do asynchronous learning at PAFA, we already had this because we've had it for a number of years. So that does give us an opportunity for instructors to create sort of let's say a 12-week syllabus of activities that you can complete more or less on your own schedule if the class is designed that way. So I don't know that I actually had ever referred to it as a correspondence type class, the way Katie phrased it, but I understand what she's getting at. And it allows people to do that work in a flow that makes more sense for them rather than having to show up in a synchronous version, which would be what we're doing right now. We are all in the same conversation. We can look at each other. We're hearing the same information. We have also taken advantage of the fact that Adobe made the Creative Cloud much more affordable, if not free, during the time of COVID. So we've actually been able to work with middle and high school students using pretty advanced digital technology for animation, for Photoshop, for things like that, and been able to give them licenses to use it at home. I will throw out one other sort of takeaway that I think we've had as an education department during this from that particular experience, which is that the more complicated the technology that you integrate into the online experience, so if there's Zoom and Canvas and Adobe Suite, let's say, and some other technology, the more you really do have to remember that the role of that teaching assistant, the role of your support team, the role of your colleagues to help with the customer service aspect of things, which is now a technology problem-solving role, is critical. And so I think we know, for instance, that while in a classroom, you have eyes on everybody, and a lot of teachers are used to teaching to an audience of like 20 students at one time. When we're all online and some students are in an animation situation as well, they're trying to get things off of Canvas, all that kind of thing. We really need two people teaching that class simultaneously. One is in front of the audience and the other one is making that class work, if that makes sense, doing all of the logistics and problem solving. I know from my personal experience that in a lot of cases when schools went online, parents were put in the position of being that support staff, trying to help their kids do that thing. I'm kind of hoping that we are learning that there's actually a really important need for sort of co-teaching in an online environment so that you get a little help. You know, making sure somebody's answering the chats or somebody is available to help someone with the technology as well. So that's a new takeaway for us, and we'll have to staff our summer programs a little differently than we might otherwise have, because virtual actually requires more people, I think, in a room.
Yeah, one comment about the taking the online classes. I've been teaching, well, this semester I'm teaching color for painters online, and the students have largely been art educators, high school and elementary school art teachers. And the Canvas thing has worked really, really well. Susanna is an expert in Zoom and also Canvas, and we have other tech support. It's been going really well for those teachers. And the nice thing about it is they've been able to do their assignments and their work whenever they got to it. You know, they'll do it on the weekend or whenever they're free. And one teacher's actually been talking with me an awful lot about curriculum, you know, what can she do in her classroom? And so it's been going really, really well for several semesters with that kind of thing. So if anyone has fears about Canvas or those kinds of things, they can be overcome.
Yes.
Because we got our faculty at PAFA, many of whom did not use those things. We got them up and running within like 2 weeks with a little bit of help. And thanks to Susanna and our librarian, and you know, it worked really well. By the way, one last comment about the high school program. As enthusiastic as I am, I cannot promise anything. I'm just hoping, you know, we can't promise anything. We don't know, you know, what the next 6 months will bring. Hopefully it'll all be fine. But so I'm just one to say I can't promise anything, but I'm going to be working hard on that.
That's great. Well, I'm cognizant that we have reached the end of our hour. Yes, Abby? Abby is our timekeeper and keeps us on track. Abby is muted.
Abby is muted.
Are there other questions?
I think I got through all of the questions in our chat.
Yeah. Sorry, my computer is being a little buggy, speaking of technology,
Okay.
but we are towards the end of our program. I did want to mention, just because we had one question about this, all of our programs are recorded and we do put them on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and type in PAFA, it takes about 24 to 48 hours. So bear with us for just a little bit, but please, if you have teachers or educators who weren't able to make this call with them, that will be up soon. And I did want to thank everyone so much for coming, and thank you to our wonderful speakers. You guys were lovely. Thank you for sharing your expertise and how you're getting through. It's so lovely to see all of you today.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you all also for all the work that you're doing. I know you're out there doing it. I know it's hard.
Yeah, artists and teachers, be brave.
Yeah.
Be brave, yes.
All right.
Great.
Bye, everybody.
Take care,
Have
everybody.
a great weekend.
Right.
Come back for more programs.
Bye.
Tell us what you're up to.
Okay,
Thank you.
take care.
Michael, we'll talk.
See you, Al.
I'll see
Yeah,
you.
Al, we'll talk.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.